Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Monsul, the producer and the host of this wonderful program. It's been on Channel 10 for a long, long time, since way back in 1989. And as you can see by the numbers in front of my desk here, this is show number 800 that we're celebrating tonight. And I was trying to decide what we would do for this program, so I decided to donate and to commemorate this particular show to my sweetheart, this beautiful lady that you see in this picture alongside of me here on my desk. Her name is Dolores. Dee Dee, it's her nickname, Dee Dee Monsul. And we met way back in 1950. That's 70 years ago. And when we first met, when she was 20 years old, as she was in this picture, and I was 21 years old. It was a long, long time ago. And let me tell you how we first met. We first met way back, as I said, back in 1950 on July the 2nd, Labor Day, and July 4th weekend. We met on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I don't know how many people are familiar with the boardwalk. It's the longest boardwalk in the world. The boardwalk in Atlantic City is about 6 miles long. And I was there with my boyfriend, Harold Lease, and she was there with her girlfriend, Ann Kerrigan, and we were kind of following each other on the boardwalk. And I said to Harold, I said, look at those two nice ladies up ahead there. Maybe we should walk up and say hello. And Harold said, yeah, that's a good idea, John. So we caught up with the two ladies, and the two ladies turned around, and they saw that we were there. And I was so impressed with this beautiful lady. When I saw her for the very first time, I think I fell in love with that beautiful face for the very first time. And the beautiful love story began right then and there on July 4th weekend of 1950 on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And I walked up to the lady that was going to be my future wife, the one in this picture here, and I said, good evening, ladies. And she said, good evening. And I said, where are you ladies going this evening? Well, we're trying to find some place where we can get something to drink because we're very thirsty. I said, well, that's wonderful. I said, I think I know a couple of places where we can go. And I said, could we walk with you? And she said, okay. So Harold and I joined forces with Dee Dee and her girlfriend, Ann Kerrigan. And we went and we found something nice place to get something to drink because the girls were thirsty. And after that, I said, you're staying in a hotel here in Atlantic City? And Dee Dee said yes. And I said, what hotel? The Lafayette Hotel on North Carolina Avenue in Atlantic City. I said, well, I know her. That's only a couple of blocks from here. I said, would you mind if we walk you home? And Dee Dee and Ann said, no, that's okay. So we walked them to the Lafayette Hotel. And as we were saying goodnight, nice meeting you gals, Dee Dee said, you know, there's a little game room on the top floor of the Lafayette Hotel where we have different games you can play. Would you boys be interested in playing ping pong or something of that sort? And Harold and I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So we got on the elevator and we went up to the rooftop of the Lafayette Hotel, and Harold and Ann started playing ping pong. And I said to Dolores, I said to Dee Dee, I said, honey, I said, would you come over here for a moment and sit down alongside of me? I want to tell you something. So she came over and sat down. I took her by the hand, and I smiled at her, and I looked in those beautiful brown eyes, and I said, Dolores, I said, you want to know something? She said, no, what, honey? And I said, someday I'm going to marry a girl just like you. And her mouth dropped, and she was speechless. She didn't say anything. She sat there and smiled back at me, and I smiled back at her. And I think we fell in love with each other right there, that very first night that we met on the boardwalk and at the Lafayette Hotel 70 years ago. And we exchanged phone numbers and names and addresses and so forth. So it was a very beautiful beginning of this love story that I'm telling you tonight on our program, Communicating Today. That was July 2nd, 1950. And then about 2 months later, I had an opportunity, we kept in touch in the meantime, to come and visit Dee Dee in her hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, about 130 miles from Philadelphia, where I had my home. And I was going to college, and she was going to college, and we were still young people. She said, come up and see me sometime, Johnny. I said, okay. So the end of September of 1950, a couple months after we first met, I drove up to Scranton, PA, and we met and had a wonderful weekend in Scranton. It was a beautiful weekend. We went to a football game. We met her mom and dad, her mom Jenny and her dad Jake, and we met all of her uncles and aunts. She introduced me to everybody and her grandma, and it was just beautiful. Her little puppy dog, Toby, little cocker spaniel. There's my sweetie. She's saying, yes, Johnny, everything you're saying is absolutely true. And we went dancing on Saturday night, and we had a wonderful time. And on Sunday, we went for a canoe ride on Lake Wallenpaupack, which is the largest natural water lake in Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania. And then before the night was over, on Sunday evening, before the weekend was over, that beautiful first weekend in Scranton, we went to a movie. And the first movie that we ever saw in Scranton was at the movie theater there, the Comerford Theater on Wyoming Avenue. The first picture we saw was T42. I don't know if any of you folks ever heard of that picture, but it's an old picture way back 70 years ago in September of 1950, and it starred this wonderful, beautiful lady, that's for sure. Her name was Doris Day. And she sang this beautiful song, the theme song from that movie, which was called T for Two. And that was such a beautiful movie, and we loved that picture, we loved that song. That became our favorite love song for so many years. We were married for 59 and a half years. She passed away in April of 2015, about 5 years ago. We loved T for Two, that song. And just in case you might know why we loved it and why we thought so much of that movie, here's what that song sounds like. It goes something like this. Picture you upon my knee, T for two and two for tea, me for you and you for me, alone we will raise a family, a boy for you and a girl for me. Can't you see how happy we will be? And there's a lot more to the song than that. Just a couple of little brief description of it. We always loved that song, so much so that even after she got sick, before she passed away 5 years ago, we were starting to think about maybe we should get in touch with this wonderful entertainer, Doris Day. She was one of the top singers in America at that time, comparable to Frank Sinatra on the male side. She was the best female singer for a long, long time, had a wonderful career. And I said to Dee Dee, and she said to me, we ought to get in touch with Doris Day sometime and thank her so much for making that wonderful movie and producing and recording that wonderful song, T for Two. But unfortunately, Dee Dee passed away before we had a chance to write that beautiful letter. So after she was gone, a couple of months later, I made up my mind that I would write that letter. I would find out where Doris Day lives in California, and write a beautiful letter and send some pictures to her, and request a beautiful autographed copy of her picture, and maybe a nice little letter to go along with it. So that's what I did. I sat down and wrote this beautiful letter to Doris Day. But before I tell you about this letter and what happened after we wrote the letter, after my wife was gone, let me put a couple of pictures up right about now. So back in the control room, here's picture number one to tell you a little bit. In fact, this is the same picture you see now on my desk. When my Dee Dee was 20 years old, I was 21, and that was way back in 1970, a long time, 70 years ago, 1950 I should say. That's when she was so beautiful when I looked at her, and that's what she was wearing the night I met her. She was wearing an off-the-shoulder white blouse and beautiful white shoes, and she was dressed beautifully, and I fell in love with my sweetheart, and she fell in love with me, I think, at that first night that we met on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Next picture. Here we go. Here's a picture of the two of us when she was getting ready to go to Russia with her mom. This was back in 1972. By this time we were married, because we got married in 1955, about 5 years after we met. we got married, and here we were married now about 10 or 12 years, and getting ready to go to Russia with her mom. And let's put the next picture up. Here we go. Here's a nice, beautiful picture back in the mid-'70s when we went on a beautiful trip to the Sheraton Waikiki on Waikiki Beach in beautiful Hawaii. And it was a wonderful, beautiful trip that we spent about a week or 10 days in Hawaii. And a wonderful memory of that beautiful trip about 17 years after we were married. Next picture, Kenny. Here's just a beautiful picture when we went to Virginia Beach and stayed at a Hyatt hotel. Had a wonderful, wonderful weekend there. We loved Virginia Beach. We went there many times, many trips over there. And let's see another picture, Kenny. Here's a picture that we took back in the mid-1980s, and we went out to a beautiful museum, the Corcoran Art Gallery, which is in downtown D.C., and the beautiful works of art, beautiful statues and all kinds of beautiful paintings and works of art. And you see behind us the beautiful sculpture, and it was some kind of a special occasion, and we were all dressed up and ready to have a wonderful time, which we did have. And let's have another picture, Kenny. Later on in the 1980s, we loved to cruise. We didn't have any kids. We always wanted children, but we couldn't have any kids. We planned on having children, and if we did have them, we even had the names picked out of what they would be called. If it was a boy, we would call the boy Mark. The boy would have been named Mark Monsul, my last name, and if it was a girl, she would have been named Jenny, after her mom, and that's her mom down the bottom of this picture, her mom Jenny, and we would have called our daughter Jenny Monsul. So Mark Monsul and Jenny Monsul, but it didn't happen. So what we decided to do instead, we decided to travel. So we traveled around the world, and we saw many different places. We went to Europe, we went to Asia, we went to Australia, we went to Canada, we went to Alaska, we went to New Zealand, we went to South America, we went to Argentina and Brazil. You name it, we saw it, and we were there because we couldn't have kids. We figured, well, we might as well enjoy life, we might as well travel and make the most of our life. So that's what we did. So we are. When we finally left New Jersey, where we finally met, and he finally married in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then we moved to Great Falls, Virginia, where we lived for many, many years, and there we are sitting in front of the fireplace, in front of our beautiful house, Great Falls, Virginia, where we moved into about 40 years ago, and we're sitting there in front of the fireplace and enjoying nice warm fire, making new friends in Northern Virginia. We love Northern Virginia and Great Falls, and I still live there by myself, even though I don't have my sweetheart with me anymore. And like I say, she's gone now for 5 years. The terrible date when it all happened was April the 26th, 2015. And finally, here's where she is now. She's at St. Vladimir's beautiful Greek Ukrainian Catholic Church, which is run by my wonderful dear friend, the pastor, Father Myronyak. And even though I'm not there, he takes good care of her cemetery. And we bring flowers there. I go there about 3 or 4 times every year, and I stay with Father Myron at his home. And he takes care of the cemetery when I'm not there. He brings her flowers and so forth. And you can see that there's a picture in a heart-shaped frame right on our tombstone. And right above, right alongside of my hand there, you can see the word someday. Remember what I said at the beginning when I said when we first met in July the 4th weekend in 1950, 70 years ago, that's when I sat Dee Dee down and I said, honey, someday I'm going to marry a girl just like you. And I decided to have that name someday, or someday printed and engraved on our tombstone. That's where it is. And you see in my hand there a little red tomato. That was my sweetheart Dee Dee's favorite veggie, big, bright red tomatoes. So that's a little bit of story about where she is right now, and I go to see her a couple of times every year. I'll be going up there for Easter a couple of months from now. And let's move on to the next picture. I think that's the last picture of this one, but I have, as I said at the very beginning of doing this program, show number 800, when I introduced the show, and introduced my sweetheart's picture. I said, this show is going to be about my sweetie pie. It's going to be a memorandum of her and our life together, and it's also going to include a mystery guest. And I think I mentioned it somewhere on later on toward the latter part of the show that I was going to introduce who that mystery guest was. It's a very famous actress and singer from Hollywood who was the most famous female singer for 35 or 40 years. She retired about 15 or 20 years ago, and she passed away, as a matter of fact, about a year ago. She was 97 when she died, and a wonderful, beautiful life. And she came into my life late in my life, and she came into my life when Dee Dee and I first went to that Cumberford movie theater in September of 1950, 70 years ago, and we saw her picture. And the picture was, again, T for Two, and we heard that very beautiful song for the very first time, and we heard Doris Day, that's her name, Doris Day, sing that beautiful picture. And Dee Dee said many times, Johnny, we should write a beautiful letter and tell Doris Day about our beautiful love story, how we met and how we saw her movie for the first time at the Cumberford Theater. The movie was T for Two. But we never had a chance to write that letter together because Dee Dee passed away 5 years ago. So after she was gone for a couple of months, I decided to sit down and write that letter on behalf of both of us. So I did. I wrote a beautiful letter and included a couple of beautiful pictures of Dee Dee and I. But I had to find Doris Day's address. I didn't know where she was, but somebody said that she lived in California. So I finally decided to find out where she lived, and I could send her this beautiful letter that I created. I found out she lived in Carmel by the Sea in Southern California. And I found her address, and I sat down and wrote this beautiful letter on behalf of my sweetheart, Dee Dee. Right, honey? You remember when you weren't there, you were up in heaven by this time. Sat down and included a couple of beautiful pictures of Dee Dee and I mailed this package out to Doris Day, care of Carmel by the Sea in Southern California. And then nothing happened for a week. Nothing happened for a second week. I didn't get a reply back for even a third week, and when it was getting close to a month, and I was just about ready to give up hope because I figured she was a very busy, famous actress, a famous singer, and she knows a lot of people, and she's loved by everybody, and she won't have time to write back to me. She won't acknowledge my letter, and she'll never send me that autographed picture that I requested on behalf of myself and Dee Dee. And all of a sudden one day, almost a month later after I sent that letter out, the mailman came to my house, and he walked up to my front door, and he handed me a great big brown envelope. And I looked at the return address on that envelope, and ladies and gentlemen, the return address on it was Carmel by the Sea, California, zip code, and I couldn't wait. I said, oh my God, must be a return letter, an answer to my letter and my pictures that I sent out about a month ago. And Doris Day is responding. I couldn't wait to rip that package open to see what the contents were inside. And when I opened up the package inside, this is what I saw. This was the beautiful package that Doris Day sent to me with her autographed photograph when she was at the height of her singing and acting career, and a beautiful letter attached to it right alongside. And you can't see what the letter says from there. The print is a little bit small, but I have on the back of this painting, this letter, I have the letter written right here in free. I'm going to read it to you, folks. Starts out by saying, Dear John, thank you for your sweet letter, sharing your lovely love story of you and your Dee Dee. I'm so happy that my movie, T for Two, played a small role in your lives, and sending me your lovely photographs of your beautiful Dee Dee, which I'm returning to you because I'm sure you would want to keep them and remember her. I'm so glad that you're someday, as that word, it goes back to the first night we met way back in 1950, which is engraved on the tombstone. that your someday came true and you decided to write to me and share your beautiful love story with me. All my love, a big letter D, which is her neat abbreviation for Doris Day, with a whole bunch of kisses down below it. And that's the beautiful letter I got and the beautiful photograph I got. They were so impressed, and I couldn't believe it. And believe me, around the perimeter of this frame, you can't see it probably very clearly, but these are all little hearts, a whole bunch of hearts surrounding this beautiful picture from Doris Day, to indicate that we're now getting close to Valentine's Day, ladies and gentlemen. That's right around the corners. Later on this week, we will be celebrating Valentine's Day. And I just want to take this opportunity to wish all of you folks out there who are watching our wonderful program, show number 800, which started way back in 1989 when we did show number 1. And it's been a long, long time, a lot of shows, a lot of wonderful guests on our program. But I just decided that when we reach number 800, this is a very special occasion, a very special number, that I wanted to take this opportunity and do something very special for my sweetheart. And I thought nothing could be better than to remember her and honor her legacy and her memory by producing this show without a guest sitting alongside me. I'm my own guest for this program, my own host doing the interviewing of myself and showing the beautiful pictures that you just saw, and the beautiful remembrance that we got from Doris Day, which I just got, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago. I wrote the letter just a couple of months after she passed, my Dee Dee, in April the 26th of 2015. So she's now gone almost 5 years, a couple of months from now. And I miss you, honey. I miss you, sweetheart. I love you. I can't wait to see you someday. And there's that magic word again, someday. It's a very important word, just like the song T for Two is one of our favorite songs, if not our most favorite song. And the movie T for Two, which Doris Day made at that 70 years ago is when that picture first came out. And all the wonderful memories that it brings. Favorite movie, favorite picture, favorite word, someday. And it's engraved on our tombstone. And the beautiful heart-shaped picture is there also. And it's the only photograph, the only picture of any of the tombstones in that whole cemetery on Kane Street in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Father Myra, my dear friend, and his wonderful family, welcomes me to his home every time I go up there. And I'll be going up there a couple of more times this year, going up for this coming Easter, a couple of months from now. And we just wanted to relay this program to you, ladies and gentlemen, viewers watching our show. Hope you love it as much as we loved it, and I hope you appreciate seeing this beautiful love story, a love story that I'm happy to recount to you. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope and wish nothing but the best for you and your sweetheart. Those of you watching our program, viewing this wonderful show, show number 800, we hope that it'll bring fond memories of you and your a wonderful other person, your wife, your sweetheart, your honey, whatever you call him or her, and enjoy this wonderful happy Valentine's Day that's coming up just around the corner. Thank you so much for watching our program. We'll next be doing our next show, which will be show number 801, since we're doing 800 tonight. And we have wonderful programs that we've been doing on Channel 10 here, cable TV, for a long, long time. Over 30 years is what we're celebrating now. And we look forward to doing a whole bunch more shows and celebrating wonderful occasions like we are tonight. On this memorable occasion, when I'm dedicating this particular program, this particular show, on behalf of my sweetheart, Dolores, Dee Dee Monsul, and I'm going to include Doris Day for this dedication also, because she was so sweet and so loving to send us this beautiful letter, which I just read to you, and this gorgeous autographed picture of herself with the beautiful words, all my love, kiss, 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 to Dee Dee and Johnny is the way she addressed it, and with all her best wishes and all her best love. And I couldn't ask for any more than that. Doris Day passed away almost about a year ago in May of 2019, the age of 96. And when she retired from entertaining, she had an animal welfare business that she got into where she loved to take care of the animals. And she did that for the last 25 or 30 years since she retired from entertaining people. And she still did that up till her death about a year ago. The Doris Day animal welfare business out of Los Angeles and Carmel by the Sea. We hope you enjoyed the show. Getting close for me to start thinking about signing off. Come back and see us again, folks, for show number 801. We'll have another wonderful program for you on communicating today. God bless, and I will say farewell and bye-bye until I see you again, honey, sometime soon. Someday I will see you, and our dear friend Doris Day. Love you, honey. Miss you. God bless everybody. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody, and we'll see you all the next show. Bye-bye. God bless.